Well, good morning and hello and welcome back to another edition of the most exciting episodes of any vlog on the Zones' The Nemesis Diaries. Well, taking a 40,000 foot view of things, and I've come to a couple of realizations that I think are pretty important to kind of point out. One of those being that all the attacks that I've suffered from, all the clique of people who've been attacking me, it's all been about control. They just can't control me, and that's demonstrated by my refusal to be controlled and to allow them to control the narrative and allow them to control me. And no matter what their threats are, they've escalated their threats from threats of doxing to extortion attempts with said dox to threats of violence with that. That was the whole extortion thing. If you don't do X, we're going to do Y against you in the real world and violence will happen. Oh, okay. And then it's, of course, attacks on the business, and then, of course, attacks, open threats to, no longer, if you don't do X, Y, no longer extortion. Now it's just, I'm just going to show up at your house and, and crush you into oblivion. So now it's open, death threats. So, and for what? And why? Why did this happen? Was because a couple of women on the internet got called a C word? No, that's definitely not it. It definitely is involving a C word, and that C word is control. Control. These people sought to control me. And just as they sought to control others in the past, I watched as this same group of C words sought to control other streamers. They wanted control of Salty's chat, and when Salty got sponsorships and Salty got the partnership with Rumble, that he had to start policing a little bit of the speech. He wouldn't allow people to go in the chat and have open calls for violence. Something that other streamers just simply don't do. Watched it myself over in RDR. Open calls for violence in his chat. Not a word said, not a mute button hit, nothing. The radicalization continues. So this group of people who weren't able to scream for blood, or who weren't able to scream obscenities in the chat, both racial and homophobic slurs, they weren't able to do that in the chat, so they got mad. They weren't able to control Salty anymore, so they said, you know what? We're going to go over to this other fella's chat. So they started hanging out in a dude named Cracks. He was the main Salty mod, the OG Salty mod, Crackalactica. And they went over to his chat, talk about how much they hated Salty now. And eventually he got tired of their shit too, and so he banned them from his chat. So they dumped into mine. And on occasion, they would start reading and screaming, and I told them I didn't tolerate some of that behavior. But I guess from being purged from place to place to place, I guess I figured this time let's try to play as nice as possible. And, they wound up still beefing with the people that they felt had wronged them by purging them from the chat over their bad behavior that they didn't want in the chat. So I was like, all right, this is, for them, it's all about control. Wasn't that difficult to figure out? They were just there for the control. The control gave them what they felt that they were missing in their real world lives, which was any kind of sense of power, meaning, and purpose. These are all broken, lonely people that have all globbed together in a giant, like, amoeba-like mass of broken, lonely people. And I have some empathy for that. I did get the whole, they were like stray dogs. That's kind of how I got that. But there's also a big mean streak in these people, because their empty hole that they have in their soul that they think they can fill up by control. It says they don't have control over their lives in other ways. They want control over others to make them feel like they still have control over something. Instead of just letting go and understanding that you really can't control anything, just let it go and go with the flow. They're resisting the current that's trying to take them down the river of their life, and they're resisting it, and that's why they lash out. So I see it. I have empathy. Okay, I see it. When I learned to let go years ago and just go with the flow, I became a lot happier. I didn't seek to control people. I didn't seek to control things. Now, you can mitigate risk, and I'm definitely a risk mitigation kind of guy. You know what I mean? It's the father in me. Hey, don't step there. There's this. Hey, watch out. Don't touch that. Hey, be careful. Don't sit there. You know, that kind of thing. And that also comes from me being a teacher for oh so long, being a martial arts instructor since I was 16. It's been so ingrained in me to always want to see the person before me get better, and do it safely. And so empathy is required. Sometimes people are having a hard time for one reason or another. Maybe it's this move, this block, this follow-up was a problem in the martial arts, or maybe learning how to cope with difficulties around them. Oh, I got a flat tire this morning. What should I do? I'm like, well, you can get up and change your tire. Call into work first. Tell them you're going to be a little late. Then take your ass outside and then change your tire. Put your spare on. Then go upstairs, get cleaned up, and then get your ass to work. That's how you deal with it. After that, go over to the local tire shop if you have one, or we have a local company here called Gerald's Tires. Say, go over to Gerald's. Tell them, hey, look, need to get a tire. And let them take a look at your old one. Hell, they might be able to just plug it for free. Next thing you know, boom, they put your old tire back on. Next thing you know, you're good to go. There are solutions to the problems if you just simply don't panic and you resist the flow. Don't resist the flow. So I noticed that from the 40,000 views that there's these people that are desperately clinging to the rocks in their life instead of letting go and going past them. They're trying to control the flow, and you just can't do that. The flow is greater than you. They have a bit of an ego problem. There's a big ego issue. There's a narcissistic problem that they think, well, I'm so damn special, and I'm such the main character of everyone's life, therefore I can resist it, and I can control the flow. And you just can't do that. And so, naturally, when a person like myself comes along who lives by that yin-yang principle, that you have to be balanced in all things, try to stay balanced so that you can flow. It's just too often that you see these people push back on that, and they push back on me, and they get ugly and mean and attack me as if I've committed some sort of massive personal affront to their very existence. That's why they say things like, we're under attack. They're trying to destroy us. They say ridiculous things like that. Now, I'm not the first person that this particular group of people actually would say those exact words about when anybody resisted anything, any whim they had, any notion they had. This is something they've said before. This is a mantra that they've said before. I know that because I've received DMs from these people talking about other people that they said were trying to destroy them, who were constantly attacking them, you see. Quite literally, I have DMs that archive a year's worth, essentially, a year's worth of these people's behavior with other people, and the phraseology and the wording is always the same. We're under attack. They're trying to destroy us. It's always the same. Always the same. And then they're screaming victimhood status while they're being the cry bully. They're the aggressors. And then when someone says, hey, I'm not going to let you just punch me in the nose, and stands up to them, then they go, oh no, everybody help, 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 I'm a victim. Because most bullies are pussies. Yeah, they're pussy ass bitches. They don't want you to fight back. They don't want you to sit there and curl up into an ass ball and get beat up on. Because they want control. When you stand up to the bully loses all sense of power and control, and he shrinks. And then he starts crying. And then they cry for their people that are around them, for the people that are unaware of their actual nature, and say, oh no, big sopping wet Bambi eyes. Oh no, I was attacked. You see, this person said this mean thing about me, without giving them any context. He didn't say that, oh yeah, I walked over there and pushed them down, and then they got up and they pushed me down. Now I'm on the ground with a hurt bum, and I'm crying. Look at me. Oh, why am I on the ground? Because they pushed me down. Well, didn't you just finish pushing them down? You're trying to destroy me. I'm under attack by you now. The next thing you know, it feeds into this delusion that they're the first character. They're the main character in everyone's life. It's all about that control. So I noticed that was the main driver behind all of this. And then there's a second thread that's been running through that, and that is the cover-up. The cover-up, trying to prevent people from seeing the sauce, as they call it, the receipts, as I call it, the truth, essentially. That they are control freaks, they are narcissists, and that they're exploiting other people that are around them that are broken, sad, lonely people, and that they are, by virtue of them trying to control them, have been getting these people radicalized. And the radicalization has just accelerated. Well, I started to notice that, and that this clique, the reason why they had globbed onto me is because, well, I'm a big fan of the salty cracker, and so were they. Hell, they named 2 of their groups in one of their events after him. They got, pissed off and angry, salty shield maidens. Then they also have the Inner Circle of Salt, and then they have the Salt Fest. So their whole thing has been, grifting off of Salty Cracker's name pretty much with everything they've ever done. Regardless of them beefing with him over the years, over the fact that he won't let them scream N-bombs and homophobic slurs and other racial slurs and threats and calls to violence in this chat. Those are the things they're butthurt he won't let them do. They're perfectly okay with you doing all that in their groups, you see. That was pointed out to them as well. It said, hey, you realize you got people in your group that are calling for violence and dropping racial slurs, and it's pretty bad. The optics from the outside, any normie that comes along and sees this is going to be like, what the hell is this? You've been so far radicalized for so long that you just think this is acceptable behavior. I don't think it's acceptable at all, and I don't think that you should see it as acceptable. But no, you don't understand, they say. Optics don't matter. We're free speech absolutists. I'm like, yeah, but free speech comes with also responsibility. You are responsible and accountable for the things you say. So, and then they started having people like myself point out the things they were saying and making others aware of these things. Then I become the bad because they can't control that. They thought, well, their little corner of the internet was going to remain their little hidden, shadowy corner of the internet. Yet they still wanted to have influence in some of the, larger streams on the internet, like the Salty Cracker. He gets 35,000 viewers, typically per stream, about 3 times a week. So he's reaching out to about 100,000 plus people just on Rumble alone. Well, we're not even counting the thousands and tens of thousands that are watching over on YouTube each of those days, and over on Odyssey and all the other places that he's streaming. So it's conceivable that in a month's time, Salty's reaching out to at least 1.5 some odd million, if not more. I mean, he's reaching CNN levels on a monthly basis. So, yeah, their behavior is a problem. Especially as Salty migrates more and more people over to Rumble. Their behavior is a really big problem. Especially when they're telling everybody, hey, come to our after party, where they all aggregate together and then say, hey, come and join our group. You see how the flow is. We'll hang out in Salty's chat. We'll be a very loud presence. We'll entice people with fellowship. We'll then get them over into our after party. And then we'll entice them to our groups. And then the radicalization drills down on those persons. And so I've noticed this, and the noticing got me in trouble with these people. And so they decided that, well, it was time for them to destroy me, destroy my reputation, try to destroy my stream, destroy my reach, destroy my influence. It's all about control. If I had gone along with all their stuff, they'd be having me on their shoulders. Dun, 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 you're the best thing. Dun. But because I said, no, I'm not going down this path with you. I'm not going to jump in that river with you. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Then I had to be destroyed, you see. I was the bad. And that's what it really boiled down to, control. And one of the ways that they maintain control is that they radicalize. They get other people radicalized too, because it's easier for a person who has become radicalized and has gone out and committed crimes to be controlled. Hell, that one of them recently just got scooped up for felony weapons charges, and then made videos talking about his intent of committing domestic terrorism. And he even implicated all of them in his plot by saying he was going to raise an army of his online friends to overthrow the government while he was threatening cops in the very same video. I mean, that video alone is going to get him in a heap of trouble. It's just an example of, he's been a longtime friend of theirs, and you could see him getting more and more radicalized the longer he spent around them. And hell, I'm watching now people popping up in their chat rooms that they call the pond, where now these people were chilling out with them and hanging out with them, and now they're showing up with swastikas in their names. I'm like, what's going on here? Crackalatica had turned full-on Nazi as well. These people use open racial slurs and homophobic slurs and drop anti-Semitic and Nazi memes in their chats and in their groups all the time. So all we're seeing here is radical. It's just more and more radical. They're trying to out-radicalize each other. And the more radical, the more over the top, seems to get them more clout amongst their peers. And now they're radicalizing people to the point of actually going out and committing crimes. And this is a problem, because the left is always looking at anyone that has any kind of conservative or right-leaning bend as a over-the-top radical, neon Yahtzee, racist, hater, homophobic, this and that. And these people are basically making sure that becomes a reality. They're handing so much ammo to the people that oppose us politically. I'm just an America first kind of guy. I just simply want to have America prosper and want Americans to prosper. I don't want to have a country being flooded, by a bunch of people that are coming here not because they want to, help make America great or even or anything like that. They just want to come here to for free stuff. That's what's happening. That's really what's happening. And now even all the dyed-in-the-wool hardcore lefties with their sanctuary cities are also now starting to recognize that fact too. So being America First is practical. It's simple. It's not radical in any way. But these people think that if you're just America First, then you have to be a shill, because you have to have some sort of a pressure point of control they feel that they should have on you, or else they feel they can't trust you. You see that then trust is a big thing. None of these people trust each other. They turn on each other like that. I mean, on a dime. They turned on this one fella. He goes by Tom. Apparently he's the host of America Floats. They turned on him over some relationship he had with one of their own. They turned on their buddy. He went by Battle Ravaged. When he started arguing with them, and they kicked him out of the group too. No matter how much he attacked me personally, and how much he went after me, and how much he accosted and insulted me online. None of that didn't matter. They were happy to have that, but as soon as he was no longer useful to them, and he dared speak up against one of their salty shield maidens, what happened? They kicked him out of the group. They banned him. And of course, in response to this, he felt crushed and he felt abandoned, and he closed up all of his social media, and poof, he's disappeared. They did the same thing to every single one of their friends. Even their friend that got arrested, they were even in the chats making fun of him, dropping memes making fun of him, setting up pages to make fun of him, while all saying #free tweak and here's a give, send, go that they practically abandoned. And they don't recognize the danger that they're all in from the video he posted implicating all of them. And the fact that he's going to get released possibly and sent back to the same place he was living with another one of the radicals who was arrested along with him, arrested but not incarcerated. It's an obvious play. He's sending him out as a wolf amongst you sheep. And y'all are just too dumb to recognize that. Y'all look at it as a win. Yay, we win. There's no consequences for acting like a lunatic and talking about domestic terrorism. No, yay, we can continue doing that. All it's going to do is make them more radical. All it's going to do is just make them do and say even stupider things, and I think that's exactly the government's play here. It's like, y'all are just playing right into their hands. It's too stupid to be stupid. But people like me have pointed out, no, stop, come back. We get called the bad, you see. We're the bad. So now, these people go online and they do all kinds of manner of ridiculous, radical, stupid things, say ridiculous, radical, stupid things, one-upmanship over and over and over again, turning on each other. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. Now some of them are closing their social media down, or they're making it private, and they're thinking that's going to make a difference. Some of them are deleting their Odyssey and their Gab accounts as if that's going to make a difference. All this stuff's there forever. None of it's going to change what they did. The best thing for these people to have done, and they can't go back and fix it now, but the best actions to avoid these kind of pitfalls is to not fall into them in the first place. When you see the signs of radicalization, you know what you should do? Pay attention. Stop. Pay attention and realize I'm probably going down the wrong path. Maybe you should listen to people like big old Papa Bear here. Maybe you should listen to people like me who say, hey, there's a problem over there, there's a problem there, there's a problem there, there's a problem there. How about you just don't go there? But you see, they want to misconstrue that empathy as, you're just trying to control me. No, I'm trying to help you avoid getting hurt. The sensei in me is trying to make sure that you get the best possible outcome. But they don't see it that way. They see it as just an attack, and you're just being a shill, and all the other crap. So then they say, despicable things. Oh, we're just going to tell everyone that you're a fed or you're a pedophile, because everyone hates pedophiles. I'm like, yeah, pedophiles, I despise them too. They should all be thrown in a fucking wood chippers. I mean, I say that quite often. I've been kicked off of YouTube several times, even for mentioning the fact that we should do that to pedophiles, because they say they're a protected class. I'm like, how the fuck? What, children are a protected class, motherfucker? But they know it's a smear. And then when you ask them, I said, why are you saying that about me? You have no reason to think that. Oh, I know I don't have no reason to think it, but I'm just doing it maliciously because I don't like you. I'm like, that's a crime. You can't do that. That's actually defamation with malicious intent. And then they openly admit to it and then don't understand that that's a problem too, because they're dumb. Because they're dumb. These people have never, ever, ever had to pay consequences for anything they've ever done. But now consequences are starting to come down. One of them's been arrested. Some of them are going to get embroiled in defamation lawsuits, if not criminal lawsuits. Criminal charges are going to come across the table too for some of these people. And they're crying victim. And they're screaming, how dare you? How dare you defend yourself? How dare you seek redress for the grievances that I've committed against you? How dare you do that? Only shills do that. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, because it's about the control. You just want me to sit there and take it. You're the bully, and you don't want me to fight back. You're the bully, and you don't want others, whom we're currently actively talking about suing you, to fight back. You are a bully who doesn't want other people pointing out that some of you have criminal charges on you now for the shit you've done because you don't want anyone to fight back. You want control. That's what the whole thing has been about, this whole thing. And as soon as you start to see that as the overall picture, everything starts to click and fall into perfect place. They literally have allowed themselves to have like a self-sustaining radicalization where they're reaffirming to each other, it's okay, you're radical like me, right? It's okay, you're radical like me, right? And this is how you have the mob mentality. This is like when at Tucker Carlson's house, when Antifa showed up. At first they were across the street, and then they moved over to his lawn, and then they got onto his driveway, and then one would run over and kick his car, and then one would run over and spray paint his car, and then one would run over and they would spray paint his door, and then one would go over and knock on his door, and then one would run over and kick his door, and then one would run over and then shoulder his door open, and then next thing you know, people are running through his house. Now, luckily it stops with the shoulder breaking the door open, and they decided not to actually run through the house. But you can see how it's progressed. They basically push each other to go a little farther, a little farther, a little farther, a little farther. And this is how you have that mob mentality. That's why that happens. And this is the way these people are behaving. It's exactly the same thing. So once we come to terms with that and come to grips with that and understand that's the actual true mechanism that's in play here, then you can see how the Pastor Chatelets of the world, he's not even a pastor, by the way, they can see how the Chatelets of the world got into the positions of influence that they are in. He's been kicked out of the Salty Army altogether, removed from the website, kicked off the mod team, and banned from the chat due to all of his bad behavior. Due to all of his bad behavior. And he can't recognize it because for him it's all about control. He's been so used to controlling people, claiming to be a pastor, which he is not. He's not even ordained. Claiming to run a church and collect donations. He doesn't even have a 501(c)(3). Doesn't have any of that. He's committing fraud. He's an admitted tax dodger. And the guy literally has never suffered a consequence for this, even though he's been arrested 19 times and has multiple felonies on his record. We're talking like stealing credit cards and stealing rental cars. Illegally carrying weapons as a felon, firearms as a felon. This guy is a dirtbag supreme. Do you really think that the leopards changed their spots? You think just because he got on the inner zones and starts screaming hashtag Team Christ as he drops N-bombs on everybody and homophobic slurs at everybody and calls everyone he doesn't like a pedophile? Do you really truly think that his spots have changed? Do you think pastors and ordained ministers speak that way? Have you ever gone to a church, an actual church, and the pastor's just like, N-bomb this and N-bomb that and N-bomb F, 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 the gay slur, gay slur, gay slur. And if you don't trust me and if you don't believe me, you're probably a pedophile. Have you ever gone to a church like that? No. But that's what he wants you to believe, that he's running a quantum church, you see, where he's collecting donations. And every time he does that, he's committing fraud. This guy's problems just around just that alone are pretty big. Just that alone are pretty numerous. And that's stuff that can be coming down the pike at any moment at this guy. And it's all due to his own behavior, his own admissions. But people say, well, how dare you point that out? I'm like, well, why shouldn't it be pointed out? It's true. You believe this guy is trustworthy. You think that this is the guy that you should be friends with, that you let him be your spiritual guru, when he's a deviant criminal fraudster. What makes you think he's just going to stop committing deviant criminal fraud when he's talking to you? What makes you think that you're special? Oh, main character syndrome, I see. You think you're the main character, and he wouldn't do that to you. Just to people that he has identified as shills and pedos, you see. Even though he then admits that, well, there's no reason to think that. I just say that because I just don't like you. Really, this is the type of person that is in this clique of people, and all they seek is control. I mean, you really have to start looking at it from this perspective, and then it all just kind of clicks. He's just trying to control you. He has his own agenda, and it's always about control. Trying to separate you from your money, and then eventually separate you from your freedom. Because he's not here to shill hunt. Can you really give me a single example of a single actual shill, an actual federal informant or agent that he's actually outed and got out of the salty army or got away from the salty streams, any of that? And tell me about one radical that he's actually prevented from getting into the salty army. Tell me about one person that he's prevented the Nazi radicalization of. Name one. Name one person that he talked off the Nazi ledge. I challenge you to that. But I can show you example after example of people that he's radicalized to the point where they turned full-fledged Nazi. Looking at you, crack. And now fog. And of course, looking at you, tweak. Radicalized to the point where you think you're a sovereign citizen living on a flat earth who's being attacked by a bunch of shape-shifting reptiles from under the sea. And now he's caught up in a massive fucking problem. And he's implicated all of his friends, and that's probably going to come down the pike at some point. And these people don't really realize this, and they're stupidly continue to hashtag retweet, and with no idea the amount of danger they're in. Just being associated with this guy is enough to get you scooped up and questioned. I mean, these people are so dumb. It's too stupid to be stupid. But do you really think these people are ever going to change their spots? No, leopards don't. Just because you're on the internet doesn't stop you from being the crazy person that you are in real life. It just simply unleashes you to be crazier. These people think, well, because they're hiding behind a screen name, and trust me, that's not true for any of you. You think you're anonymous. You're not. You're not. You really think that, but you're not. And so it emboldens you to get into that mob mentality of the people that showed up to terrorize Tucker Carlson's wife when she was at home alone. Escalated to all the way to them breaking her door down. See the problem? Just like they escalated against me all the way to the point of attacking my business and actually lobbing death threats at me. All because of what? I refuse to be controlled. All right, till next time.